Come on, we're starting a new sermon series called I Believe. Everybody say, I believe. And over the next few weeks leading up into Easter, what we're going to be talking about is what you should believe about God. Because I think that, and maybe you've heard this phrase before, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. Have you ever heard that before? What does that mean? That means that if you don't actually know what you believe, then it's going to be very easy for you to kind of get pushed to the left or to the right. The Bible even says a man should not build his house on sinking sand. What does that mean? That means that you should know what you believe, that you should have a strong foundation so that when the winds and the waves come, you're not blowing over, but when the winds and the waves come, you can stand strong, you can stand firm in your belief. So over the next few weeks, we're going to say, hey, what should you believe? What are some things that you should believe about God? And today, we're going to talk about, go ahead and pull your phones out. We're going to take notes tonight. We have a rule here. If someone's talking, your phone is out. But you're not going to Instagram. You're not going to TikTok. You're going to your notes. Go to your notes and write at the top, I believe God is faithful. I believe God is faithful. So we're going to talk about a man today named Abraham. Who's heard of Abraham? Who's heard of Abraham? Yeah. Now, what you have to know about Abraham is Abraham's name originally was actually Abram. God actually changes his name. So when we're reading our story today, it's going to say Abram, but it's the same person, Abraham, who used to sing the song when they were in kids ministry. Anyone know the song? If I say this song and you know what song I'm talking about, you know what I mean? Like, Father Abraham has many sons. And many sons has father. I am one. And what? So what? Let's just praise the right arm, left arm, right, left foot. Oh, we all forgot. Head up, head down. Turn around, sit down. Come on, guys. Come on. Yeah. Clap for Father Abraham. Yeah. I had this fear that I would bring that song up and start singing it and it'd just be me, so thank you for that. Thank you for helping me with my insecurity. So Abraham, who is now Abram, he has not had his name changed yet, has just now won a battle. So he's now won a battle, and this king comes up to him, and he's like, hey man, you won this battle, and it's awesome. I want to give you a lot of stuff. Now, who in here would like a lot of stuff? Who in here would be pumped if I'm like, hey, I want to give you a lot of stuff? Like we're just going to give you stuff. We're going to throw gold and silver and AirPods and PS5s and Xboxes. We're just going to throw them out. Yeah, a lot of stuff. So Abram gets said, hey, I want to give you a lot of stuff. And Abram says, hey, man, I'm cool, all good, because if you give me all this stuff, people might think that I won this battle because of me, and I want people to know I won this battle because of God. And what's very interesting is Abram shows in this moment something that honestly doesn't get talked a lot about in church, but what he shows us in this moment is that character matters. So you have to understand, and this isn't even really a part of the message, but what you have to understand tonight is your character matters. That there's even moments in the Bible, and what happens is even though people disobey God, God doesn't disown them, but what happens a lot of times when people disobey God, they just end up wandering. So what you have to understand is that while God will not disown you because you've maybe made some mistakes or maybe because you've done some things, and God still loves you and God still cares for you and God still has grace for you, but there is this nuance to where you might find yourself wandering. And you're like, man, why am I still in this same spot? Why am I still struggling with the same issues? And what we end up finding out in the Bible is a lot of times it's because I just might not have figured out my character. If there's anything I can encourage you with at 16, at 15, at 12, at 17, it's really take care of your character. Guard it. Hold on to it. So because of this, God actually says, hey, Abram, you've had some character. I'm going to reward you. I'm going to do something special in your life. And what happens in Genesis is it says, after this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abram said, you've given me no children. So a servant in my household will be my heir. So God speaks to Abram and he says, Abram, I'm going to do something special in your life. I'm your reward. I'm going to protect you. There's amazing things that are going to happen. And Abram's response is kind of like, who cares? That's kind of what he says. He's like, who cares? Like I know that you want to give me stuff, but you haven't even given me a child yet. And what you have to know about the Bible and this time in the Bible is everything is about generational wealth. Everything. It's all about, hey, what can I build? What can I have so I can leave it to my children? Everything. So that's the main focus. That's the main goal, is to leave something for your children. So Abram's like, dude, if you give me something, it's not even gonna stay in my family. Because what happens is if you don't have children, it goes to your servants. It goes to the people that work for you. So what he says is, God, why does this matter? Who cares? Like, you haven't even given me a son. You know that I want a son. You know that I want an heir. And the reason this is important is because what you find out in life is it's very hard to stay faithful to God now when you feel like God hasn't been faithful in the past. It's really, really hard. You know how I know it's really, really hard? Because it's also really hard to do that with people. Have you ever had someone say they were gonna do something and they didn't? Like, imagine if we had revival night last week and it was awesome and it was amazing, but imagine if I the week before was like, hey, we're gonna give away AirPod Maxes, we're gonna have tacos, and it's gonna be amazing, and you show up and you're worshiping God, and then we do the giveaway and someone wins, and then I pull out like headphones with the wire still on them. And then I'm like, oh, we got tacos in the back, but it's really just like Doritos and some like shredded cheese. Like people would be upset. Like, you would be like, what is going on? And then imagine like the next event, I'm like, oh, we're giving away a PS5. You'd be like, yeah, right, okay? Like, I'm not coming. But what's crazy is that it's the same way with people, right? To where it's hard to trust someone when they maybe haven't done what you thought they were gonna do. So if it's that hard with people, I have to assume that it's even harder with God. Because you and I can see people, but we cannot see God face to face. Like, there's a lot of faith involved in Christianity. So it's really, really hard to trust God. If we're being honest, it's sometimes impossible when maybe you've prayed for something, or you've asked for something, or you've wanted something and it didn't happen. Like, oh, you really, really prayed that your parents wouldn't get divorced and then it happened. Or you really, really prayed that that family member would make it and they didn't and it didn't happen. Or you really, really prayed that you would make that team or that things would go well in your school and it didn't happen. So Abram says, God, who cares? Who cares that you're gonna give me stuff? Who cares? It's not coming to me anyway. It's not staying in my family. And I love the way that God responds. God responds by saying, then the word of the Lord came to him, this man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, then he said to him, so shall your offspring be. So what's very interesting is that what you end up finding out about disappointment and faithfulness in God is it's a lot like a hammer. Like, it's a lot like hammering something. Like, if you've ever maybe hammered a nail or you've hammered something in your life, like you understand that when you hammer something, you just don't like go for it on the first one. Like, you're just not like, let's go. Like, you literally like have to like first just kind of do like little hits, right? Like, you have to hit and then you got to get it started and then you nail it in. Then all of a sudden after a few hits, like, you can barely see the nail anymore. You only see like the head. And honestly, that's a lot what happens with disappointment and unfaithfulness with God. Is that a lot of times we think, oh, well, I can stay faithful to God because I haven't had the big hit. But a lot of times it's just the little hits, isn't it? It's just the, oh, God, I thought you were going to give me peace and I'm still struggling with my anxiety. It's just the little hits. Oh, God, I thought that my friends wouldn't be these type of people and now you haven't brought me new friends. It's just the little hits. So God has this moment where he's talking to Abram. He's talking to Abram, but what's very interesting is that God's also talking to you and I, but it can be very hard to hear him with all the noise. Like, you and I have a lot of voices yelling at us, don't we? I mean, you have culture yelling at you. You have social media yelling at you. You have your relationship pressure yelling at you. You have academic pressure yelling at you. You have athletic pressure yelling at you. And then we wonder why we're living in insecurity instead of confidence. And we wonder why we're living in anger instead of peace. And we wonder why we're living in frustration instead of joy. And it's because the one voice that can bring that peace, that love, that hope is being drowned out by all the other voices. So what does God do? The first thing I want you to write down, how does God respond? How can we believe that God is faithful? The first thing that God will do is God speaks truth over our lives. It's the first thing that we can do. And the strings can go ahead and come on up. We're going to close soon. That's the first thing that God does is he speaks truth over our lives. So God immediately, like Abram's like, hey, I don't have a son. And God immediately speaks truth over his life. He said, no, I have an heir for you. He says, no, I have an heir. I have a blood heir for you. I have someone for you. And what we have to do in Christianity and in culture is we have to stop putting words in God's mouth. Like you and I do that a lot. Have you ever had someone put words in your mouth? Like, have you ever had someone say something that you, like say you said something, but you really didn't? Like somebody walked up to you and, hey, I heard that you said so-and-so's relationship was trash. Like, no, I didn't. Like I'd just say, oh, I heard you said so-and-so's not even that good on the team. Like, no, I never said that. Why does that frustrate us? Because there's nothing worse than someone making a statement and putting your authority on it. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than someone making a statement and putting your reputation on the line. And you and I will do this with God all the time. Well, God doesn't love me the way that I thought he did. No, God didn't say that. You're putting words in God's mouth. No, I can't really get involved. I haven't been going to church this long. No, God didn't say that. You're putting words in God's mouth. Well, I don't really know. You don't know what I did this weekend. You don't know about the decision that I made. God can't forgive me for that. No. God didn't say that. You're putting words in God's mouth. God never said that. So what you have to understand is that God speaks truth to him. He says, hey, no. You don't even speak anymore. I'm going to give you an heir. I'm going to give you a son. And what you have to understand is that if God says that you're called, then you're called. That if God says you're loved, then you're loved. That if God says you're forgiven, then you're forgiven. That if God says you have hope, then you have hope. We have to stop putting words in God's mouth, and we have to hold on to the words that God has already spoken to us. So what does he do? He speaks truth over us. And the second thing he does, I love how the story ends. It says he took him outside and he said, look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them. Then he said to him, so shall your offspring be. That's how many sons you're gonna have. That's how many kids you're gonna have. Have you ever rode in an airplane before? Okay, now, what's very interesting about riding in planes, I don't know about you, but I just love looking out. Like I love the window seat. Where are my window seat people at? In window seat. Okay, anyone love the aisle? Anyone like, oh, I love the aisle. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're gonna pray for you. We're gonna pray for you. We're gonna pray for you. You guys are the faithful ones. You guys are the ones that can endure. You guys are perseverance. I love it. Like the one thing I love about the window seat is as you're landing, like I love looking at all of the stuff outside. Like I love looking at the golf courses. I love looking at the oceans. I love looking at the people, and the people look like ants. Like have you guys, like who else loves that? Who else loves, oh, I love when the people look like ants. Like it's like, oh, it's so amazing. But what's very interesting is imagine if I tried to get that exact same view without getting on a plane. Like imagine if I was on the ground, like I want that view on the plane. Like I don't want to get on the plane, but I want the cool view. Like I don't want to get on the plane, but I want the cool view. And what's very interesting is this moment happens where it says that God took Abram outside. It says that he took him outside. And what you have to understand tonight is Abram's chilling. He's sitting there with his feet up. He's probably watching March Madness, #Go Michigan State. And he's hanging and he's loving life. And then all of a sudden, God takes him out of his comfort zone and he says, hey, I need you to go outside. And if there's anything I can tell you, the reason why you might have some frustration, the reason why you might be in the same cycles of sin, the reason why you might be dealing with the same things is because you haven't gotten up out of your comfort zone and you haven't went outside. And it's very, very important to understand the reason why your friends maybe laugh at you when you say things like, I want to get sober, or I want to do different things in my relationships. It's because they want you to stay inside. It's because they want you to be in the same spot. It's because they want you in your comfort zone. It's because they don't want you to get up out of your comfort zone and go outside. But what is the second thing that God will do? Write this down. God gives us new vision. So God will speak, when you feel, God, are you faithful? God, are you with me? God will speak truth over your life. And God will give you new vision. So why did Abram have to go outside? Because he couldn't see the stars from inside. You can't see the stars from inside your house. God can't give him the vision that he needs or the purpose that he has from inside. And what you have to understand is that there are certain things that God wants to show you, certain things that God wants to do in your life that you might not be able to fully see until you step outside of your comfort zone. That there are certain things in your life that you cannot get until you step outside. Ian Longton preached an amazing message last week, and he said this, and I'm stealing it from him because it's that awesome, but he said, maybe your dreams are too small. And And it's this interesting thing to where if I was to ask you, hey, what are your dreams? What is something you want? And you're like, okay, I just want to get that scholarship. That's my dream. Okay, get that scholarship, but what if God's dream for you is bigger than just going to a 4-year university? Well, I just really want to get in a relationship. I just don't want to be single anymore. Okay, but what if God's dreams for you are bigger than just being in a relationship? But what if God has purpose for you, but you cannot get that purpose until you what? Step outside. Until you get outside of your comfort zone. The goal of our youth ministry is not to just have you step in the same spots or to have you go in the same cycles, but it's to what? Help you to step outside. To help you to see, oh no, I only wanted one son, but God has a lot of sons for me. Hey, I only wanted like a little bit of peace, but God has a lot of peace for me. I only wanted a little bit of joy, but God has more joy than I could ever imagine. So why does this matter? Why does this matter for you and me? The story ends. And it says, Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. It says he believed. He believed in God. So we're talking about, I believe. It says he believed in God and God credited it to him as righteousness. What does this believe mean? It doesn't mean, hey God, I know it's gonna work out. It doesn't even mean, hey God, like I'm fully sure you're gonna do it. But this believe actually means to like lean on someone. That's what it means. It means that he leaned on him, that he said, okay God, I really want this kid, but I'm gonna lean on you until it happens. And if I can give you any advice, it's that there are things that you're praying for, things that you're believing for, things that you want to happen, but until they happen, you cannot give up, but you have to lean on God. You have to lean on the presence of God. And I love what it says it credited him as righteousness. What does it mean? It means that God looked at him and said, hey, Abram, you met the standard. Can I encourage you, the standard is not to make your dreams happen on your own. The standard is to believe that God can make them happen for you. The standard is not to believe that things in your life that you're praying for, you can work for and strive for, but the standard is, can you just have faith for another day? Can you just show up again? Can you just believe again? Can you have faith again? And if you can, I truly do believe that you'll be able to stand firm in anything and say, God's faithful. God loves me, no matter what you're going through. Go ahead and stand to your feet.